Welcome to the program. Now, he was arrested and dragged into a police car in broad daylight by officers from the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit.
Now, that statement would make it seem like city businessman Ali Aden was arrested in an ordinary way, but it is anything but normal. Ali
Aden is now at the center of what appears to be an intricate, well-woven web of corruption involving officers from the Flying Squad and the ATPU.
Here's John Alanamu's report on a situation that it would seem has the man in handcuffs being innocent and the criminals wearing the uniform.
On Wednesday last week, we captured images of this man, who we later identified as Kenyan businessman Ali Aden, being arrested and dragged away by officers from the Flying Squad and the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit. The running narrative about Aden being that he was a wanted terrorist who had finally been nabbed. Before going on air, we reported the incident to the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit.
The police then assured both IPOA and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights that they were going to release him.
The case ought to have ended there, but it hasn't. Almost 1 week after this dramatic arrest and his being taken back to his home for a search of his documents, Ali Aden is still in custody in blatant disregard of the habeas corpus laws that he be produced in court and charged within 48 hours of his arrest.
We will do everything we can to work with IPOA, to work with the police to make sure that he's released as soon as possible.
But the law, it would seem, is the last thing on the minds of some of the officers who arrested Aden. On Friday the 17th of October, using this line 0786 548 748, an officer holding Aden called Aden's relatives. The conversation that ensued is telling.
Ali kuabi ako batia no ye nonge Ali meesha dan ka soo baxayna marka lacagta ka rabaan 100 kun miya marka mukdeeniya lama taqaan 100 markan keena mukdeeniya ila mandaya may maanta dee gudaniya 100 oo keenayna marka ofiisaaga ma taqa meeshan uu ma lahayn sheego meeshan imaanay ofiisaaga xageed waa meeshan imaanay bila yaqaan miya haye halo ofiisa nakuuliza sijui mimi nikuje wapi nikuje Flying Squad ama nikuje kwa Antitera mimi sasa natoka tu hapo karibu Uhuru Park natoka nataka kutoka huko Nairobi najua mahali Ali hapa kwa gate sawa haya nikuje huko kwa hiyo nini Antitera hapa kwa ofisi yao nilete 1100 hiyo anasema Ali 1100 anasema Ali nilete hiyo ako hapa lakini nilete pesa hii 1100 hiyo ndio nakwambia
After this conversation, showing an apparent attempt to extract a bribe from Ali Aden's family, his family forwarded the details of this conversation to Leo Nyongesa, the officer in charge of reforms at the National Police Service, for action. Action was promised but not taken against at least 2 officers who are said to be holding Aden, identified by name, who are involved in a case.
It's a matter of cardinal concern if indeed there are still elements within the police service who are resorting to extortion as a means of fighting terrorism, because it can't work. It's never worked before, it's not going to work.
Ali has been transferred to at least 3 police stations in the city since his arrest, with no communication about what charge he's being held on. Ali is said to have been arrested after a land deal between him and a city businessman went bad, with claims that the businessman may have used influence within the police force to effect this arrest.
The greatest roadblock to effective government is corruption. Asking for bribes or paying them weakens systems and destroys hope.
Taking the case of Ali Aden into perspective, then it's no small irony that President Uhuru Kenyatta would spend quite a bit of his speech today addressing the issue of corruption in government and how it weakens systems. Tonight, he's going to spend his night at the Kilimani police station, the 5th night in police custody, without being produced before a court or being charged. John Alanamu, KTN, Nairobi.
The Big Q in association with Total Quartz.
A story by John Allen is the basis of a big question this MASHUJAA Day. We are asking you, do you think the ongoing police reforms will end corruption in the Kenyan police service?
An alarming story there by John Alanamu. Criminals in uniform, of course, putting in mind the reforms that are expected in the police force. Let us know what you think. Our SMS line is 22155. You can tweet us at KTN Kenya, at Ben Kitili, and of course at Linda Ogutu. We'd love to sample some of your views during this bulletin.
Total Quartz improves the output of your engine, allowing you to go further with each tankful. Total Quartz, more protection and more kilometers.
Let's now take you to MASHUJAA Day celebrations, shall we? And President Uhuru Kenyatta has today outlined his government's development agenda, highlighting the steps already taken to transform the lives of Kenyans. Speaking during the MASHUJAA Day celebrations at the Nyayo National Stadium, the head of state also re-emphasized the need to support the Nyumba Kumi initiative as a means of improving security. KTN's Wilson Muru attended the celebrations and now reports.
Thousands of Kenyans thronged the Nyayo National Stadium to mark the 5th MASHUJAA Day celebrations on a day set aside to celebrate people who have positively impacted the lives of fellow countrymen. President Uhuru Kenyatta arrived just minutes after 11 o'clock to a rousing welcome. In his speech, the president chose to dwell on the progress his government has made in tackling various challenges. He noted that his government took only a year to deliver a new world-class airport terminal in Nairobi after the fire that destroyed part of it last year.
We bring the same kind of ambition to constructing new airports, port facilities, railways and roads. In the next 5 years, we intend to tarmac 10,000 kilometers of new roads.
The issue of security was also highlighted in the president's speech, especially on terrorism, which has claimed the lives of 100 people during the time that the Jubilee administration has been in charge. The head of state emphasized on the importance of the Nyumba Kumi initiative in fighting criminal activities in the country.
Since its inception, numerous plans by extremists and terrorists have been foiled with the assistance of Kenyans. Our country will become safe, neighborhood by neighborhood, through the involvement of each and every one of us.
With corruption being one of the major impediments to development, the president said the government will from now on demand for transparency from all institutions that mobilize resources, the same way public institutions account for the use of allocated resources. The president also challenged political leaders to engage in constructive debates as opposed to divisive politics.
Siasa ya mugawanyiko, siasa ya chuki, siasa ya kikabila, siasa ya kidini, tuweze tuiwache kando na tushike siasa ya maendeleo, siasa ya kuunganisha Wakenya wetu.
It has been a day filled with pomp, color and celebrations as Kenyans celebrated their heroes. And President Uhuru Kenyatta's speech underlined his government's commitment to ensuring that Kenyans have better lives. Wilson Buru, KTN at the Nyayo National Stadium, Nairobi.
Let's stay with that story. MASHUJAA Day celebrations was also marked in county headquarters across the country. Sharon Momanyi has the summary of the celebrations. Take a look.
Song, dance and jubilation marked the MASHUJAA Day celebrations in Mombasa County. The pomp and color, however, would not eclipse the talks on matters affecting the county, crime and drug abuse by youth in Mombasa taking center stage. The leaders also highlighted the importance of celebrating local heroes, such as the recently deceased Professor Ali Mazrui.
Kila pembe ya Kenya itaweza kutambulisha yule shujaa wake ama kuwatambua mashujaa wake.
Sasa hivi wameanza kuingilia crime. Mama hawezi pita na ripoji lake hata kama halina pesa, anakatwa. So the incident of crime accruing from drug related.
Nataka tupigane na hii kitu kwa nguvu zote ambazo tuko nazo, so that baadaye tuwe na vijana ambaye watafata uwezo wa kwenye lelele za mbele. Na sasa umenishtua, unaambia paka wazee.
In Uasin Gishu County, the issue that took center stage was that of growing insecurity in the area, with County Commissioner Abdi Mohammed stating that the county government is set to take vigilant measures to curb the problem.
Kwa hivyo ni kuitikia mwito na kunyorosha hawa makora. Kuwanyorosha. Na mimi mara nyingi nimesema hapana bembeleza. Tandika hii kitu mpaka akwame.
The theme changed from crime to health in Kisii County, with Governor James Ongwae noting the worrisome rise in HIV and AIDS prevalence in the area from a said 6% to 9%.
For those of you men who may be abetting this practice and allowing the young ladies to come to the streets, just watch out.
And to central Kenya in Nyeri County, a celebration that was attended by the young and old alike. Nyeri Governor Nderitu Gachagua cited plans to regulate the price of tea, such that tea farmers in the area profit from their farming. In Kisumu County, the MASHUJAA mood was that of reconciliation, with nominated TNA Senator Joy Gwendo offering to reconcile embattled Senator Anyang' Nyong'o and MCAs from the county.
Let's be realistic. Let's sort out the issues. Let's sit down as adults and as people whom Kisumu people have confidence in and sort out these issues.
Finally, the ongoing county leadership wrangles dominated proceedings during the MASHUJAA Day celebrations in Isiolo. Governor Godana Doyo urged Isiolo residents to disregard politicians who are out to divide them and cause mayhem in the county. Sharma Manyi, KTN.
Now, there are many Kenyans that come to mind as fit to be heroes, especially on a day like today when Kenya was celebrating its MASHUJAA Day. Now, however, for thousands who stayed glued to their television screens during the 2007-2008 post-election violence, one General Service Unit officer stood out. In not so many words, he reminded Kenyans at the height of the violence that Kenya was greater than all of us. Let's look back at the words that not only gripped the headlines then, but reminded Kenyans of the journey the country had taken to get where it was.
It had been days of riots. Lives had been lost, property destroyed in probably one of the darkest moments in Kenyan history. The entire Akan region held its breath. The beacon of peace was burning. The 2007 post-election violence. And in the midst of it all, General Service Unit Officer Joseph Musyoka NTHENGE joined his colleagues. Their mission was to stop the violence and the bloodshed. And when he got there, he saw his fellow countrymen drowned in a mob psychology that could drown the entire nation. He chose to reason with the group, hoping that what he would say would divert them from the blood-stained route that the country was taking.
Kwa nini tuchukue mikono kazi ya mtu mwingine tunataka kuifanya? Sawa? Na hii Kenya tumeijenga kwa muda mrefu. Kwa nini tunataka kujaribu ni one day? Msitake tupigane. Mimi sitaki vita.
Joseph may have talked to a few of the protesters, but his message was to later reach millions of Kenyans. In those two lines, Musyoka reminded the country of the journey we had taken as a country to get to where we were. Kenya had turned 44 years in 2007, and he reminded his fellow countrymen and women that the journey had been long and hard, and that the joint effort to build the nation of Kenya did not start with this generation. In not so many words, He reminded the protesters that the country had been built on the blood, sweat, and life of our forefathers who paid the ultimate price to end colonization in this African soil. With those very words, he passed a very strong message that irrespective of grievances and concerns, this country was greater than individuals. The future generations would not forgive us if we ban a country that held so much hope and potential. What stood out for the millions of Kenyans who would later watch and hear Joseph on TV that day was that he hesitated to take the clover and crush approach that the GSU are feared for, and instead calmly reasoned with the protesters. It has been 7 years since the 2007 post-election violence, and Joseph, though not so proud of the path that the country took back then, is grateful that the country did not plunge down the precipice.
Let us embrace peace, to see that kila mwananchi katika nchi yetu ya Kenya anaishi kwa amani, na tukiwa tuko na amani tutapata maendeleo. Maendeleo inaletwa na watu kuwa kwa amani, bila msosano, bila kusema huyu anatoka mahali fulani, huyu anatoka mahali fulani. Kenya ni yetu sisi wote, hakuna mahali tunasema Kenya hakuna mtu ambaye si yake. It is ours. So we need to build this nation from within, not from outside. It is from within.
And so, like millions of Kenyans, he hopes that those words will be engraved in the hearts of every Kenyan. He hopes the 2007 was the last episode of its kind that will ever be witnessed in Kenya. If only so that our heroes, our forefathers, and future generations will smile down at us as Kenya rebuilds and strengthens its social fabric. Linda Ogutu, KTN.
They stay with the heroes, and what began as a little contribution to a home for the mentally disabled by a philanthropist several years ago has ended up being an eye-opener to many in Kandara area of Murang'a County. Though mentally challenged, the group no longer waits for financial assistance from well-wishers, but are now engaging in greenhouse farming, a venture that is not only profit-making, but their daily routine as well. Wilkis Tanyabwa visited the home in Kandara and filed the following report.
The dog legs shut and Jimmy sets off for work. Ever since he found employment, the world has seemed brighter, full of more possibilities. Jimmy is one of 7 workers employed at a farm in Kandara, Murang'a County. Each of the workers here is intellectually disabled. They started out at the Orioni Community Training Center where they were rehabilitated and educated, but when they turned 18, they wondered what came next. And that's how it all began 4 years ago. The Catholic Order of the Sons of Divine Providence, which ran the center for the intellectually disabled, approached a local philanthropist and asked for ideas.
They explained to me that they are educating the children from the age of 5 up to even 16, 17. But when they grow bigger, now there is a problem. I raised the question that the children are from which community? They said they are from the farming community. Then I asked them, do you have any farmland? Then they brought us here to this farm. And then idea came into mind that why can't you train them when they go bigger and give back to the parents so that they can do something in their farm.
Pindolia donated the first greenhouse, and as the idea took root, others would come forward. The Orioni Center sent out its first batch of intellectually disabled students, all over 18 years, to the farm, and the farm manager was employed to teach them all they needed to learn.
Tunawafunza kutoka kushika njembe, kuelewa shamba ilivyo, kujua hatari ya hizo vyombo vya kazi wanazotumia.
Though the learners were eager to learn, there were hurdles to overcome. At the end, both the teacher and his learners would learn valuable lessons.
Kama wewe ni mtu hazira haraka, you won't make it. utamwambia kidogo akasirike, uende na you make you won't achieve your target.
The young farmers sell their produce to a local supermarket chain. The returns pay their salaries, which are paid into bank accounts they have all opened. They are taught to budget and prioritize their needs. After a full day's work, Jimmy cannot wait to get home. But he has another reason to dash home as well. Jimmy has just finished building a one-bedroomed house in the family compound. Soon he will be moving in. And with that out of the way, he has another goal in mind, one Jimmy is shy to reveal at first. With a home and a stable income, Jimmy hopes to get married soon.
Most important thing is that now they are independent.
People with disability, they can do anything else which any person can do.
A change has been brought about by many, each a hero in his or her own way, doing his or her little part in the process, and then content to step back and watch the little seed bear fruit. Wilkistanyapwa, KTN.
It is Monday and definitely a day for your weekly crime investigations series Case Files. Tonight, KTN's Dennis Onsarigo speaks to a man jailed for staging a robbery that targeted his own kin. The man, a son of former Assistant Minister Betty Tet, says he did not do it. His mother, on the other hand, maintains her son was out to eliminate them. Here is a sneak preview of Case Files Not Our Son, coming up immediately after KTN Trial.
They told me, what I must do, you must follow instructions. You must get us into their house. We know that there's money in their house. Before I could even speak a word, these guys just woke up, put a gun on my dad and on me. Maybe I should have died in that incident. Maybe I should have not accepted to enter the house. Maybe they'd have shot me in the car, because maybe that would have made my mom happy.
He sent people to threaten, we are going to kill you. As the case was going on. As the case was going on.
William Tet, former Minister Betty Tet's son, has today been sentenced to death.
Watch out for Case Files just immediately after this bulletin. Let's remind you of our big question tonight, and we'd asked you if you think the ongoing police reforms will end corruption in the police force.
And Mutai Mairani on Twitter says the problem is that those pretending to spearhead these reforms are the epitome of corruption.
At Ambuli Victor says the reforms will offer no transformative value to the potent corrupt cartels. Corruption is part of our daily lives.
And Stephen on Twitter says, no, it won't. Many queries left unanswered. Claims of human violation, how they got their wealth.
At Sydney Obiero says the reforms ni kufunga wa Kenya macho. You can only remove the monkey from the forest, but not the forest from it.
Keep the SMSs coming. The number is 22155. You can join that conversation on Twitter at Ben_Kitili, at KTN Kenya, and at Linda Ogutu.
Indeed, we're taking a short break. Stay with us. Let's stay with our MASHUJAA Day celebrations. And it's not in doubt that Field Marshal DEDAN Kimathi left a rich legacy behind with his involvement in the struggle for freedom of the country. But beyond what is recorded in history books about the fallen hero, there is more to DEDAN Kimathi than just what Kenyans know. KTN visited his Nyeri home and interacted with those who grew up with the late Kimathi.
It is not in doubt that Kenya's independence was not served on a silver platter, but rather through blood, sweat, and tons of strong will from those who were brave enough to say an emphatic no to the colonial government. The name DEDAN Kimathi Washuri is almost synonymous with Kenya's struggle for independence, so much so that in his home turf in Nyeri, the name DEDAN Kimathi is a household name.
Kwa mfano ukiingia hapa Nyeri mjini tuna DEDAN Kimathi Stadium. Hapa pia mjini Nyeri tuna DEDAN Kimathi Highway. Tuna DEDAN Kimathi University, chuo kikuu. Pia ukienda kule pahali alizaliwa Karunaini, tuna Dedan Kimathi Memorial High School. Tuna wadi mzima ambayo inawakilishwa na member of county assembly, inaitwa Dedan Kimathi ward.
War veteran Daniel Mathenge quickly fishes out this photograph of Dedan Kimathi when we explain our mission to this Mau Mau War Veterans Association branch office. He does not stop there. He breaks into song, a song that tells of the heroic deeds of Field Marshal Dedan Kimathi. The lush greenery that is Karunaine in Tetu constituency, Nyeri County, is where a bouncing baby boy was born in 1920 and named Dedan Kimathi Washuri. This Kimathi, whose name is on everyone's lips, just what kind of a person was he? We ask the Mau Mau veterans who had the fortune of associating with him.
Kimathi mwenyewe hakuwa mtu mkorofi, lakini ukimkorofa utaona yeye ni kama chui au simba, ya hapana baya kama hapana koroga yeye. Kama ukichokoza yeye, Kimathi alikuwa kama simba au chui.
Yeye anafundisha sisi vile tutapigana na wazungu, kwa sababu alikuwa amesoma kidogo, alikuwa anajua Kiingereza, na alikuwa mtu amepigana pita katika nchi ya ng'ambu.
Tyrus Murage's clarity of memory is impressive. His first encounter with Kimathi was when he was his student, and recalls vividly that Kimathi would ride his green bicycle to and fro, and what subjects he taught.
Alikuwa anatufundisha hesabu na Kikuyu na vile vile English.
Whatever image Kenyans have of the Field Marshal are from this famous photograph of him in handcuffs at the now Nyeri Provincial General Hospital after he was captured. But just what did Kimathi look like?
Kimathi mwenyewe kwa umbo lake alikuwa wale watu wanaitwa stout, yani watu wenye nguvu. Alikuwa mrefu karibu futi 6 hivi, na alikuwa mtu mwenye nguvu.
His dressing when he started combat was also elaborate in line with his fighting.
Wakati nilimuona alikuwa na jacket ya leather nyekundu, na kichwa yake manywele ilikuwa mrefu kama hiyo yako, lakini mrefu zaidi. Na kichwa yake alikuwa anavaa kofia ya chui, na ndani kabisa alikuwa na kajacket kadogo kama pulova ya gozi ya chui ambayo ilikuwa inachonewa huko msituni.
While Tyrus Murage did not fight physically in the forest, he was relied upon to deliver necessities such as medicine, clothing, and writing material. Kimathi had undergone some formal education and therefore could write and communicate through letters. It is on one of these missions that Murage encountered the British.
Tulifanya inspection, lakini kama mzungu kamoja, sijui ni wazimu gani kalichiko naye, kakanipiga na buti yao. Hii mguu, ukiona hiyo kilema, hiyo ni ile nilipigwa na hiyo mzungu Johnny. Mwingine naye akanipiga padi hiyo ya kuchoto hapa na bat ya buduki.
Kimathi was captured in 1957 at this spot here in his locality in Karunaini. When a bullet first tore through his thigh, he fell here. Locals believe that the blood that spilled on the ground prevents any crop planted on the spot from flourishing. Tea bushes have sprouted everywhere here except this particular spot. He tried standing up and fell again on this second spot, where a memorial plaque in his honor was erected in 2011. Murage, a forest officer, then rushed to the site with a small Kodak camera when he heard that Kimathi had been captured.
Wakati mimi napiga picha ya kwanza, nikamwambia askari, hebu muinue kidogo ili nimpige sawa sawa. Wakati nilikuwa nampiga, nilishapwa na ile mzungu, na akachukua hiyo kamera, alafu akatoa pisto anipiga. Akaambia na Dedan, huyu namuuliza za nini? Kupiga picha tu. Namuuliza nini? Wakati huo Sina Chimhoya akaigia. Akaambia mzungu, "Washa kupiga bunduki."
Kimathi was one of the very few freedom fighters who had received formal schooling. This is a school that he attended when he came of age, Karunaini Primary School. Old they might seem, but these buildings contain rich history, for this is where DEDAN Kimathi schooled in his early years before returning to teach at the very same school that is Karunaini Primary School. We are informed he was an astute student, perhaps qualities that enabled him mobilize fellow villagers in the fight against colonialism. Some of the wooden classrooms that existed in his day are still here at Karunaini Primary School, but a new stone block of classrooms has since been put up. These children perhaps proud to share the legacy of having gone to the same school as Kimathi. It is in this very same school that he came back to work as a teacher. He also at one time worked as a clerk in Nyeri Dairy.
We understood those years he was a hard-working pupil, and after some time he came back to be a teacher and to teach his fellow village men. He also started DEDAN Kimathi Secondary School, which is adjacent to our primary school.
The chairman of the Mau Mau War Veterans Association, Elijah Kenywa, alias General Bahati, remembers how Kimathi and other leaders taught them how to use guns.
Wao ndio walifundisha sisi saa ingine hali ya kupigana ama kutumia fuduki. Mimi kwa jani nilioneshwa kwa masaa bid basi na tosha. Kichangu ilikuwa na sirika na hii mzungu. Nilikuwa nauliza tutaonana namna gani.
The controversy surrounding the actual resting place of Kimathi's remains is still rife, something that does not augur well with war veterans such as General Bahati.
Queen Elizabeth alisema nataka kuona na macho yangu huyu naitwa DEDAN Kimathi. Na wakati huo tangu ya leo Kimathi alikosa kuzikika yuko wapi.
Dixon Ngera from Meru fought in the Nyambene forest under the leadership of Mwariama, who he says was Kimathi's ally. Ngera shows us a bullet wound scar that he sustained when he fought in Nyambene.
Kimathi Mwariama mahali tunatoka anda wa Kimathi anapangiwa pile sisi takwenda kila mahali.
While Kenya celebrates MASHUJAA Day, Kenyans have been urged to embrace the exemplary patriotism that Kimathi and other fighters portrayed. Carol Derry, KTN, Nyeri County.
Interesting insights by those elderly heroes talking about that Kamzungu. Let's now take you away from MASHUJAA stories. And 8 people were today injured in crossfire between police and bandits in Kasarani area of Turkana East. The bandits are said to have ambushed a vehicle transporting Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination papers to a center in the area. In the process, the police who were escorting the papers in a different vehicle engaged the bandits but were seemingly overpowered as the bandits managed to set fire on the examination papers, reducing the transportation vehicle to ashes. Confirming the incident, the District Education Officer, Dr. Nicholas Anyang, said that plans had been made to airlift other papers to the area.
We thank you for staying with KTN Prime. We are taking another short break. We'll be back. Stay with us. Let's cross borders just a little bit into Uganda, and the Ugandan High Court has today ruled that Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho validly acquired his university degree from the Kampala University. While delivering the judgment, Justice Stephen Musota criticized the National Council of Higher Education of Uganda for giving into external pressures in arriving at its decision. The judge stated that the council had no jurisdiction to recall or not to recognize individual degrees awarded by any university in Uganda. The judge held that the power to vet university award is vested in a university senate under the provisions of the Universities and Other Tertiary Institutions Act 2001.
Now, the country marks MASHUJAA Day amid reflections of the achievements realized so far. One of the government's grand projects is the multi-billion shilling standard gauge railway, billed as one of the largest projects in the country in a century. Now, on the Mombasa-Nairobi proposed route, however, a section of residents in Makindu area are a worried lot, and it all has to do with compensation for their land. The government is assuring that those who will be affected will be compensated fairly and expeditiously. KTN's Rita Tinina spent a day at Makindu and reports on why the residents will not rest easy despite the assurance by the state.
Break time for these pupils in Makindu means time to get a little jumpy. Many of them are unaware of the rich history that informed the naming of the school. This is the Railway Primary School. The more than a century-old railway line is just meters away from their school. And such scenes and sounds are normal occurrence. Makindu, the second major stop after Voi on the Mombasa-Nairobi railway line, once had a bustling train station, complete with a station building and passenger waiting rooms. Now, even the freight trains do not make any stops here. But increasingly, everyone here now knows that the railway is making a comeback sometime soon.
Tupende tuspende lazima reli itapita hapa.
Tumekaribisha huu mtambo wa railway gauge kwa mikono miwili.
But for now, that is all they know here. Information on the project, even for families which will most definitely be affected by it, remains scanty at best.
Sisi tunagojea tuko katika giza kwa upande huo.
Hatukuhusishwa kutoka mwanzoni vile tunatakiwa tufanye ama tufanyiwe.
With a railway line and a station in Makindu, there is nothing new about trains and a rail track for residents. But with concerns and lack of information about the modern standard gauge railway for a section of residents here, the start of the project may be out of gauge. Abdallah Mohammed Juma was born and bred here. This is the only place he has called home for the past 66 years. And he and other residents who are set to lose their land to pave way for the railway line are a worried lot.
Sio tuje tuumie kwa kitu ambacho hatukutazamia kwa kuwa sisi hatuuzi. Wao ndio wanachukua ile plot.
Already, the main contractor, China Roads and Bridges Corporation, has set up a campsite near Makindu, and signs that the Kenya Railways may soon move in are evident. But residents here in Makindu say that since the standard gauge railway project was officially commissioned in November last year, little information on the project is trickling down to them, with only one meeting being held between them, the Kenya Railways and National Land Commission officials.
Na maswali tukiuliza, unauliza swali la kwanza, la pili unaambiwa basi fika hapo hapo.
Tunaona nyumba zinapimwa, atuambiwi zinapimwa kivipi, atuambiwi tutalipwa nini.
The process of valuation and compensation of land is a mandate of the National Land Commission, and the government is asking landowners to rest easy.
People will be paid market value for their land plus 15% disruption allowance, and there are various other elements taken into account.
The process of determining the value of land, the government says, will be a consultative one.
There are hearings, people discuss their concerns, then after that a value is proposed, and if the people accept, they sign, and we move on.
Residents say they have been asked to fill in claim forms for compensation.
Mimi niliandika claim yangu na nikaandika na nikaweka sahihi.
Sisi hatuna uwezo, tukiuliza plot yetu tunasema tulipwa milioni 10
na kile tunalipwa tupatiwe wakati wa kuama.
The construction of the 327 billion shilling standard gauge railway from Mombasa to Nairobi will see the acquisition of at least 11,000 acres of land along its proposed route.
Plot moja inakuja inakatwa kakwota, inabakishwa ile nyingine. Hiyo kakwota siyo ilipwe, plot ilipwe yote. Kwa sababu hata hao wanalipwa hiyo kwota, ule atabakishwa hiyo kwota nyingine, hataweza kukaa hapo kwa sababu ya makelele.
The maps and all the design drawings are available on the ground so that people can actually understand, specifically if it's passing your house, how far will it be, where will it be.
There are also worries that a big wall will be put up, cutting off access to schools, a mosque, and livestock grazing areas in Makindu.
Watoto wetu kuvuka pandili nyingine kwenda shule, na ng'ombe, na magari, na watu watapita namna gani?
Yes, the railway will be fenced off, but definitely there'll be overpasses, there'll be underpasses, so that even as people move to school, move to churches, mosques, move their animals to watering holes, those issues will be taken into account.
Residents are also concerned that Makindu, which has had a train station for decades, will miss out on a train stop.
Hatuwezi tukatokea gari Voi ama tukaenda kutokea Sultanahmood. Ni mbali.
The route of the new railway will be a bit different, but all the studies have been done to deal with how traffic for passengers will be availed to the railway, how people will be able to access the railway.
The government says the project will employ between 35,000 to 40,000 Kenyans in Mombasa, Taita Taveta, Makueni, Kajiado, Machakos and Nairobi.
40,000 people working along that railway require food, they require housing, they require accommodation, they require medical care, they require relaxation. So, and all of those people will have money in their pocket.
The standard gauge railway has been a subject of controversy right from its tendering stage to the actual cost of the project. It has now got clearance from Parliament, but with the anxiety in places like Makindu, it may be a while before it's full steam for the railway project. Rita Tinina, KTN.
Thank you, Rita. You're watching KTN Prime. Many thanks for staying with us on the program. We take a quick break, but don't go too far. When we come back, we'll have the latest in sports.
Of course, that's coming up with Lynn Washira.
Semi-final match pitting defending champions FC Leopards against Sofapaka was stopped on the 87th minute due to fan trouble. FC Leopards fans turned violent after the Batoto Bamungu netted in their second goal of the match. Earlier on, Nationwide League side Rangers FC made it to the GoTV finals after a dramatic 10-9 win over West Kenya at the City Stadium.
87th minute of the game, and I think there's trouble at the stadium at the moment.
Ugly scenes were once again witnessed in the local football scene when AFC Leopards fans ran riot during a GoTV semi-final match at the City Stadium. The Ingwe fans started hurling objects before invading the pitch just 3 minutes after a second Sofapaka goal. The fans' scuffle that forced the police to use tear gas is said to have left a match official injured.
That first goal to equalize for Leopards because
the Leopards fans endured a frustrating match from kickoff. Sofapaka was the better side in the counter, with their efforts paying off when Enoch Agwanda netted in the opener on the 26th minute. Ingwe's efforts to equalize were not enough. Joseph Shikokoti was yellow-carded before Jacob Kelly let a chance to equalize slip away, sending Ingwe fans to evident anguish.
Kelly tried to be fancy about it with a back heel. These fans are wondering, what is it?
Things moved from bad to worse when Sofapaka won a free kick following James Situma's rough play on Agwanda. Ekalian Ndola connected a kick from Anthony Kimani past Matasi.
Goes directly towards goal! Oh, it's a left foot turn that gets into the net.
The 85th minute goal is what triggered the crowd trouble. The two teams will now have to wait for their fate to be decided by the Independent Disciplinary Appeal Committee, IDAC.
Comes with the penalties here.
Elsewhere, Rangers qualified for the GoTV finals after beating West Kenya 10-9 via post-match penalties. The match ended 0-0 after regulation time. Rangers' Peter Mwachi and Collins Ocheng penalty kicks were stopped, while Evans Bengo and Isa Ajika failed to sparkle for West Kenya.
Rangers are into the finals!
Rangers will play the winner of the abandoned AFC Leopards versus Sofapaka match.
And staying with football, ASEC Roma will take on Liberty Sports, while Intercity plays Vapor Sports on day one of the FKF Nairobi County Mini League, set to kick off tomorrow at the City Stadium with 8 teams set to participate. Kibera Black Stars, Kenya Forest Services, Mbotela Kamaliza and Superloaf FC are the other teams set to battle for the Nairobi County Mini League title.
We take this opportunity to thank our sponsors. We are all in football, we know how difficult sponsors do come in. And it's a great pleasure that we have 2 sponsors. And I believe they have seen what the branch is doing and they found it worthwhile.
And away from football, the third edition of the Kiambu County Rally ended prematurely on Sunday due to spectators' security concerns. Spectators' trouble characterized the rally, with a number of spectators said to have been too drunk and unruly, and occasionally crisscrossing the stretch that had been sealed off to be used by safari participants. Only 12 out of 48 competitors managed to participate before the race got cut short. The event organizers say the incident was part of the learning curve as they seek to improve the coming editions. Kiambu County Governor William Kabogo was among those who took part in the event.
You get personal accident cover worth 500,000.
I did participate. I was car number 4, and I fared quite well, although I need to do a little bit of practice. So this is to encourage the young men and women of Kiambu. It's good to get involved with sport because when you get involved in sport, you stay away from trouble in terms of alcoholism and these other things.
We had a small problem with spectators and just the locals coming on the road in the middle of the race. And because of that, we had to prematurely end the race. So a few drivers didn't manage to race, but hopefully it'll be better organized the next time.